but day and night, all of the emotion. So you're being treated like this by the outside world. Then you're being treated like this sometimes by other homeless people. Then you're being treated like this by police officers. Then you're being treated like this. I mean, all the aggression and all of the trauma of the people that you're living around and all of the anger and fire that's going on in our whole world, but especially just in this arena. So going over and talking to Steve Martin, I was hoping to be able to make it to the next spot, but you know, he lives alone, literally in just a pile of garbage, and he doesn't have many people around him. The guy who was next to him was the burn site. He still doesn't know what happened to the guy. Obviously he believes he made it out alive, right? But he's never seen him again. Anyways, he needed to talk, so we talked for a while. So now it's dark. It came back to this spot, back to this Carl's Jr. And so I went inside to charge my phone, and lo and behold, they kicked me out now too. Just antagonized me until I left. So, but as I come out, here's the man himself sitting on the stump over here that I had told you about, that went in there with Maxine, and she bought him a meal, and they would allow her to eat inside but not him. So she got her money back and gave him the food. So said she'd never eat here again. But I'm not doing this for anybody to boycott all Carl's Jr.'s. It could have been a McDonald's, it could have been a Taco Bell, it could have been any number of places. I've been treated bad. A lot of homeless people have been treated bad in a lot of places. The Ralphs that I've been treated good at, somebody else was treated bad at and just told me a bad story this evening. So I'm gonna just show you James for a minute. I'm gonna talk to him for a little bit. He's the guy I was telling you about that sits on the stump and couldn't eat in here. So walk with me for a minute, and I'm gonna take the bus back. I'm not gonna film him because most people feel uncomfortable with that, and I don't want to do that. So here he is sitting on a stump, and he's probably tired. He never gets any sleep. I know he'll greet me with a big smile and say hi and not ask for anything because that's who he is. So, but I'm not gonna film it. Okay, bye. So, really quick conclusion to what happened in that portion of the video. I did sit and talk with James for quite some time. He was, in fact, sleeping. He let me know that he had a tent at one time, but somebody burned it down, and he was inside. And luckily, he escaped. But he has a real trauma and trigger because of that, and he decided that he would never have a tent again. He rescued just a few items from the ashes, and he's built himself up a little suitcase and sleeping bag and so forth. But he's had people steal from him while he's sitting there on the street corner sleeping and take some of his stuff, which the thing about, even with me, like bringing out this phone and things like that, it's not entirely just the phone, right? So in a real way it is, because it's just all I have to do this, and I worked really hard for it, but it's not just the phone. It's also when you have something that people want. A lot of times people get harmed just for a robbery. You bring physical harm upon yourself when you have some of those nicer things, and that's what he was afraid of. He didn't have anything real nice, but obviously he had some things that some people wanted, and they would thieve from him while he was asleep right next to his stuff. And sometimes that would, he'd wake up startled and react, and they would react. And so his solution now is to just stay awake all the time. So he also talked about being badgered by police, and man, he just shared so many stories with me, just heartbreaking stories. And so yeah, he just stays awake now, but you know, I mean, he was just slumped over sleeping. You saw him, and I don't know what it is, if it's bed bugs, but he's got a terrible itch all over his body. But like I said, just as pleasant as can be, and kind and generous, and with his time and his words, and he's lonely, you know. So I talked to him for quite a while, and I wanted to also just give you an idea of what happened to me in the Carl's Jr. So I've actually not been hassled in that Carl's Jr. and it is a really large one. I mean, there's lots of seating inside, and when I've been in there, I can spot who else is homeless. So if I can spot it, I'm sure other people can. But they've never hassled me, and I've gone in there, and unfortunately they don't have Wi-Fi, and that there might be a reason for that. But they do have a lot of plugs, and so I've gone in there and charged my stuff before, and taken some time to edit some of these videos and things like that. And they've never really given me a hassle, but that day, you know, I stayed too long, I guess, and the lady comes up to me and she's like, "Ma'am, you need to order something. You need to order something." And I know a lot of you might feel one way or the other. I understand, you know. Even somebody made a comment, you know, that they understand why the shop owners wouldn't want homeless people in their stores. You know, they might smell bad, you know. Not all homeless people do, but some really do, and you know, you don't want that in there while you're eating, and maybe 20 homeless show up, and so on and so forth. But really, honestly, the places that I've been, you're not going to get 20 unless it's a library. And I could be wrong. I'm sure somebody's had a story where there's 20 homeless in a fast food place, but most of the time you're just going to have one or two. And I do understand reasons why you wouldn't want them in there. There are some valid reasons per se, but I think sometimes you've got to look at the bigger picture. And yet, on the other hand, somebody else made a comment, you know, that sometimes homeless people would go in there and they use the bathroom and they bathe in the bathroom, that maybe they even lock the doors and shoot up the drugs. Somebody turns tricks in a bathroom. You know, so yeah, if you're the manager there, you don't want that. So I get it. But anyways, I didn't have money to buy anything. It wasn't in my budget, and so should I just not be sitting in there at all? Should I not be using the facility at all? I suppose there's an argument for that. There is. And yet there's no outlets on the outside of the building. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. The library's free, but I do the library all day, every day almost, and I charge everything there. But sometimes on a weekend or you're going somewhere else, the library's not closed, but there's always a fast food place. So anyway, she just came 3 or 4 times within 5 minutes. "Ma'am, you need to order something. Ma'am, you need to do something. Ma'am, you can't stay here. Ma'am, you just got to go." And like, it was literally within 5 minutes, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Just, and then she just told me to get out, you know.
And I told her I was leaving, but she wasn't gonna leave me alone until she saw me walk out the door. So she just kept getting closer and closer into my space, and just kept repeating herself over and over. And I said, "Look, ma'am, I'm leaving. I'm leaving, you know." So I left. It wasn't a good feeling. Maybe it's not a good feeling for them either. Maybe they want money. Maybe everything in life should be all about money. Maybe we shouldn't do anything for free. I mean, where's the line? Is that what we want? I mean, I understand they're taking time, you know, somebody invested in that building, somebody put their hard-earned money into that building, and that's what that business is for, and compassion and empathy and understanding and being fair to both sides. It's hard. It's hard. And it is hard, but do you have to do it that way? I mean, maybe you don't change your stance, and maybe you do feel justified in your actions, but maybe how you say something is just as important as what you say. I'm certainly not perfect in that way, so there again, you know, these are just questions that we have to answer for ourselves, and we have to be congruent with how we feel inside morally, so that we can get closer to that peace. Okay, next story.
So that right there is the freeway overpass, and just on the other side of it is the burn site. That's where Steve's at, and that's where the Motel 6 is, where some of the people from the park are now at. This is where I have to wait for the bus, the 117, which hardly ever comes, so I end up just walking all the way down there so I can pick up the next bus. It does take quite a while. I'm at least gonna film if the bus doesn't come until then. I waited here the other night for 45 minutes and the bus didn't show up, so I ended up walking, which took me another 45 minutes, so I may as well just walk. Anyways, so at this gas station just a few days ago, again, all of this happens within like 3 days, and I'm sitting here, I'm waiting for the bus. It is taking a while, and then right behind me, okay, right at the entrance, there's a black guy sitting there, and I'm pretty sure he was homeless. He was sitting by the door. A lady comes out, this white lady comes out, and I don't know what happened because I wasn't right next to them, but suddenly they get into a scuffle, and he gets mad and she gets mad, and they're yelling, and they're like yelling, and then she steps up like real close to him, and he stands up. At first he was sitting, he stands up, and then he gets closer to her, and then she gets closer to him, and then she's pointing her finger, and he's getting in her face, and then the husband comes up, and he's trying to calm his wife down and trying to calm the other dude down, and they're just going at it. And then finally the husband gets the wife to go to their truck, okay, which was sitting right over there, and the husband and wife goes to their truck, and then the dude follows them and tries to get inside the truck, and they're all yelling in this huge scuffle. Now, the whole thing, again, it's stupid. It's really stupid, isn't it? You don't know what that guy had on him, and that guy doesn't know what the husband had in the truck. So one or the other could have been armed, could have had a gun, Like, but the aggression, like everybody stops and just stares, and it's just all this aggression and anger, and so